This could be the end of Season 2. It's the last 2 months of the season, and if we can get past Leverkusen in the second leg of the quarterfinals, we'd really only have one more team to beat before making it to the final. There's gonna be more games than usual today, so I want to blitz through those games as quickly as possible. We're gonna start with Leverkusen, and if we can beat them, that Champions League double is going to be on the table. Now, last episode, Leverkusen gave me a lot more trouble than I expected. So much so that I was expecting us to easily go past them last game, but after that 2-2 draw, heading into this one, I'm a bit nervous to see whether or not we're going to be able to get through this game comfortably. And my nerves would soon be justified as Leverkusen scores in the 40th minute and in the 50th minute, leaving us 2 goals down with 40 minutes left on the clock. But the team does eventually wake up as Mount and Bruno link up to get a very fortunate goal to cut the deficit in half. Then in the 60th minute, Garnacho receives the ball from Mount and he starts running infield. He starts pushing through, driving through the centre backs, and once he's in the box, all he can do is score. With it being 4-4 in aggregate and with only 30 minutes left to go, it feels like the next goal that is scored could decide who goes through. And in heartbreaking fashion, Leverkusen does take the liberty of scoring that goal, leaving us 3-2 down with only 15 minutes left to go. And I'm gonna be honest, boys, I'm really not interested in winning the Premier League on its own. So we need someone to step up, and we need them to step up now. And perhaps you could call it poetic, but to step up to the plate is Bruno Fernandes, running through the defense, shooting one past the goalkeeper and scoring a goal to send us into extra time. To think, this man went from tearing his ACL at Newcastle to scoring the biggest goal of our Champions League campaign so far. And late into extra time, Leverkusen were on the attack, but thankfully a very big double tackle from Schürrle kept them at bay. And it meant that with 7 minutes to go, Mount was able to find Rashford, who was then able to find Antony. And remember how I said this guy just knows how to score big game goals? It's the only goals he scores, and this time he does not disappoint. And with the final kick into the crowd from Kamara, the referee calls game, and just like that, after a grueling quarterfinal, Manchester United makes it through and we book our ticket to a Champions League semi-final. And we drew Real Madrid. What are the chances that we actually make it through? At least Premier League wise, we are still in first place, a bit comfortable, but then again City and Liverpool do have that game in hand. And looking at the other side of the draw, we have City facing Arsenal. And to be honest, I would have taken Arsenal every day of the week. It's been a while since we've checked up on the youth academy, but rest assured, I'm taking good care of it. But heading back to the football, we do face off against Fulham in the Premier League. We simulate and pick up a 3-0 win. But after that, it's Real Madrid. And this is the team we're going to be using against them. And all we can really say is, well, we're going to play the game and we're going to do our best. To stress how difficult these Real Madrid games actually were, I'll say that if I was doing a live commentary on the games, I literally would not have said a single word. Because that's how focused I had to be just to survive. That's just to survive, just not to concede. And even then, imagine how much I would have had to focus to score a goal against this team. For starters, Nuno Mendes just burns past Diogo Dalot. And the only reason we don't concede here is because Luke Shaw just happens to be at the right place at the right time. But we were able to answer back. Rashford sent Antony through, and in his usual spot to score, he takes a finesse shot, but Courtois is able to save it. And if those shots aren't going in, it's going to spell some danger for our Champions League hopes. And after that, Bellingham finds this monster of a pass to cut open our defense, and just like that, Cancelo gives it to Osimhen. And the only reason we don't concede once again is because Dalot is at the right place at the right time. And once again, Nuno Mendes knocks on the door, and he's dribbling and skilling as if he's Vinicius. He cuts it back to Osimhen, and thank goodness we bought Marmadashvili all those years ago. And the half nearly draws to a close, and this time it's Cancelo terrorizing the Man United defense. They give it to Vinicius. My heart stops. He takes a shot, but thankfully we are able to clear it out and we are able to survive the first half. And the second half wasn't any better. Valverde blitzed through the midfield to find Vinicius, and Vinicius just did his thing. He found Osimhen. My heart stops again, but thankfully Lissandro Martinez is there. He's able to clear it out, give it to Mount, and maybe, just maybe, we can start an attack of our own. But of course that attack later became stagnant and we had to find ourselves making a couple of passing plays to fashion something. Kamara to Antony, Antony to Dalot. We see Garnacho in that far post, but that little touch from Courtois is able to deflect the ball away and likely end our attack. But passing plays would prove to be our best weapon at breaking down this Real Madrid defense, and after finding Mount at the end of one, I was very, very disappointed to see him not be able to score in that situation. And it really felt like we were going to get punished for missing that opportunity as Bellingham finds another wonder ball, but thankfully a save from Mamadashvili keeps us at 0-0. And just like that, the first leg ends 0-0. Meaning that heading into the Santiago Bernabeu, we have a lot of work ahead of us if we're going to make that Champions League final. This stadium is very well known for being one of the toughest places to go on an away day. But tough or not, the objective doesn't change. If we are to make that Champions League final, we're 90 minutes away. We need a goal and we need a win. And much like Old Trafford, Real Madrid are on our necks, and thankfully we have Mamadashvili in net to save a very, very strong shot from Valverde. And not too long after that, Mamadashvili has to be called upon again as Valverde gets another chance to shoot, but thankfully his hands are secure. But eventually the pressure toll as Vinicius breaks through our defensive line and he slots one past Mamadashvili. But by some blind luck, he turns out to be offside. With 30 minutes left on the clock, we finally got a productive attack. Bruno Fernandes was sent through with a beautiful turn, and on the form that he's been in this episode, he slots it away against Courtois. And just like that, a deadlock that has lasted 2 games, almost 2 games, has finally been broken. But keeping a clean sheet against Real Madrid is like finding a pink elephant, and eventually they do answer back, and it's courtesy of a Jude Bellingham header. And with another set piece being swung in, Lisandro Martinez is able to head it away. It finds Antony. Garnacho's on the run on the left hand side. Antony, with men surrounding him, dishes one to Garnacho, and just like that, 1-on-1 against Courtois. With ice in his veins, he smashes it into the top right-hand corner. Then Real Madrid had the last attack of the game, but thankfully some safe hands from Mamadashvili mean that the referee can safely blow the whistle. And just like that, in Season 2, I have taken Manchester United to a Champions League final. We expected 2027. But if all goes well and if we keep focused for that last Champions League game, we could make some serious history a lot earlier than expected. But before that, we've got one more loose end to tie. It is almost the final day of the Premier League, but what's important is we're 3 points ahead, 2 games left for us, and we have a game in hand. Our next opponent is going to be Manchester City, our last game at Old Trafford. So, if we win, and we must win, but if we win, we will be able to lift a Premier League trophy. So without further ado, let's get into it. We faced off against Man City many times in this series, and turns out we do have a pretty good record against them. Now all we need is to beat them just one more time, and we win the biggest trophy of the series so far. And we get off to a strong start with a bit of a passing play where Lisandro Martinez finds himself a long way from home, but he is there and he is able to strike one past Edison. But just before halftime, Man City push forward with Haaland with the ball at his feet. He runs into our defense and they make a passing play of their own, slipping in Bernardo Silva, and he smashes one past Mamadashvili, making it 1-1 heading into the halftime break. So in the 80th minute, it's still 1-1, and while a draw would be enough, we still wanted that one final goal to beat Man City. And with Rashford bursting through the Man City defense, he is able to smash one past Edison, and that looks like it's going to be all she wrote for this Premier League campaign. And with the referee blowing his whistle, we can finally breathe a sigh of relief, and we can finally say, after 2 seasons, Manchester United are Premier League champions. It took a lot of work. It may be a bit of sacrifice, a lot of shifting and changing the tactics and the players, but in the end, at the end of everything, we have finally brought back the Premier League title to Manchester United. And now we have the chance to make it a double, and you wouldn't believe who we get to face in that Champions League final. Perhaps it's poetry. Perhaps you could even call it destiny. But one thing's for certain. With the Manchester Derby in the Champions League final, it's not going to be an easy one. So for one last time this season, this is the team I'm sending out onto the pitch. Even if they have beaten City a number of times before this, I still pray that they can get the job done. So with the Champions League trophy in touching distance, let's get this thing kicked off. It starts off with some good defense from the lads and a quick fire pass from Mount to Rashford, then Rashford to Garnacho, our dynamic trio doing it once again. But when it was just one-on-one against Ederson, Garnacho could not finish. And we tried to knock on the door once again. Antony to Fernandes. Fernandes takes a near post shot, but he just barely grazes the side netting. But then there was a corner kick, and as the ball ricocheted away onto the outside to Bruno's foot, my heart stopped. And with it somehow still being 0-0, Mount swings one to Garnacho, and the most unlikely hero to score steps up. It's Boubacar Kamara, And just like that, he's the one to open the scoring in the Champions League final. And in the space of 3 minutes, we get a chance to score again. This time Garnacho once again laying off the ball to Rashford. And to give him the assist, Rashford just smashes one past Ederson. Being 2-0 up with 30 minutes up on the clock, we really thought that this was going to be ours. But little did we know, things are only just getting started. Julian Alvarez broke into the box, and just before halftime he was able to grab one goal back for Manchester City. Then it was Gvardiol crossing the ball to Alphonso Davies, and he was able to hit it into the bottom right hand corner. But then Mount turned Rodri in midfield, he dished it to Fernandes to Rashford. Rashford turns his centre back, and for his brace, he scores another goal against Ederson. But then Manchester City became inevitable as Doku ran into the box and he chipped Mamadashvili to take the lead for City once more. And if you look at the clock, we only got 7 minutes left. But I guess sometimes, no matter how hard you try, things just don't get to go your way. And with Haaland scoring what looks to be the final goal of this Champions League final, in the 89th minute, 20 seconds away from 90 minutes, giving Man City that 4-3 lead, maybe we have to accept that this fairy tale miracle run with United to win the Premier League, to get to a Champions League final, maybe that's all it was in the end. Just a fairy tale. Maybe we could say that it was too early. Maybe it really was going to take up until 2027. But then again, if it really is a miracle run, if it really is a fairy tale, why should we not be able to get that fairy tale ending?
Must favour the cross. He takes it on. And a goal! The equaliser for United. Mount. Advantage Manchester United. That's a good looking ball.
Well, if it really was a fairy tale, if it really was a miracle run, guess it's a good thing you and me got to see how it ended, right?
And now the whistle they all wanted to hear. Manchester United have painted the Champions League red. Need to be reminded about what comes next. It's the presentation of the coveted Champions League trophy.
Well, there's some tired players out there, but what you can be sure of, they'll find some energy when they get their hands on the trophy. They'll be going mad in the next few moments.
The Champions League winners, Manchester United.
Well, this is what they wanted. What a moment for these players. They've worked